So I'm definitely a fan of Godzilla. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I just loved how crazy and like scary he was and just destroying the town. I found out that he was actually helping people and at some points and actually like fighting other monsters and stuff. I mean, it was awesome. I definitely grew up during the Heisei era, right, where Godzilla was more or less of a threat and less of the hero, quote unquote, right? And then as I got older, I realized that he was the hero at one point back in the Showa era, and he actually like teamed up with other people or teamed up with creatures or whatever you want to say. It was very like Power Rangers-esque, right, of a Megazord and just fighting in a cool, scaly built to scale built city and him, guy in a suit and shit. I mean, it was hilarious. I was definitely a fan, and I definitely think that kids should watch those old movies nowadays because they're great. That's probably where I got my love for reading subtitles and watching foreign films, just seeing all these people talk in this crazy different language and reading the subtitles and not knowing what they're saying, but just being so intrigued. And then as I got older, right, in my teens, of course, that's when they had the 2000s Godzilla come out, right? The Matthew Broderick one, the Hollywood one, the first Hollywood Godzilla, I guess, film. I didn't realize, but now looking at it retrospectively, yeah, I guess it wasn't actually Godzilla. Like Toho Studios didn't even want to acknowledge it as a Godzilla film, apparently. And yeah, I guess that's because it wasn't Godzilla. It was just a giant lizard, right? It was literally a giant ass iguana. It had no nuclear breath. It had no, crazy glowing spikes and shit. It just wasn't, it wasn't Godzilla. I mean, actually, yeah, he does blow out like fire at like one scene, I think, but it's almost like he doesn't actually breathe out fire. It's almost like his breath is so, radiated that it just sets, like the cars just blow up. So the cars are just on fire. It's not actually him, because if it was him, you would think he would do it more often. Or like when they're attacking him, he would just like do that instead of just like bashing into all the tanks and shit. But anyway, I digress. I'm not here to talk about that film. What I'm here to talk about is the newest Japanese film of Godzilla, which was Godzilla Minus One. Now, I didn't realize Shin Godzilla, that came out a couple years ago, was a Toho Studios production like this one was. They're the ones that have made all of the Godzilla films in the past. Minus are American ones, like the Godzilla one of 2000, and then you had Garth Edwards' Godzilla in 2016 or 17 or whatever. Then you had King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong. Those are all American Godzilla films. I guess I just never thought about it, never put the two and two together, and it's just crazy now watching Godzilla Minus One and seeing how different and how much of a different perspective the Japanese have on Godzilla than we do, right? Because now, with the new Empire coming out, right? Godzilla vs. Kong, the new Empire, and Godzilla, or the Monarch Legacy of Monsters show that's out right now on Apple TV Plus, Godzilla is definitely in the middle of a hero and a villain, right? They have him like dead center of the Showa and the Heisei era, because they don't portray him they started portraying him as a full villain, but then now that they brought other kaiju and other things in, he's obviously the hero, and he's the one that, owns and is dominant over this land. So Godzilla's number one, but there's always going to be a fucking another threat, whatever. Like, it's just totally Hollywood, right? So the way that Godzilla Minus One portrayed him was great, of like an actual menacing villain, and then the people having to come together to ban and find a way to defeat him, only to defeat him to find out that he can't be defeated, right? Now you go and you see the Godzillas of American cinema, and yeah, he doesn't die, yeah, he ends up just leaving, but they try to make him all of a sudden like this person. Now they're trying to give him more maybe emotion and shit, because they definitely did that in Godzilla vs. Kong, and they made Godzilla like snarl or like smirk at Kong, and then they had Kong also look down or like look up to Godzilla and like have facial expressions making at Godzilla. So it was very weird, and I feel like it's only gonna get more like that now with Godzilla, with the new Empire, because in the trailer they're running, like they're literally running, and it's just like, what? Like, Godzilla's supposed to be the fucking size of a skyscraper, and King Kong is supposed to be able to scale that skyscraper, and you're literally making him the same size, and you're making Godzilla run faster, and you're kind of alluding to the fact that King Kong can age and die, because he does look older than he did in the last movie. Like, he's been around the bend in Hollow Earth, which is ridiculous, but again, some people are calling that shit. If Kong's gonna find a woman, watch, he's gonna find a woman and he's gonna settle down in this film. and Godzilla's gonna be like, I approve. I love you guys are cute. I'm gonna go back into the ocean now and like sexually reproduce. But and then you had like then you have this Monarch show that's about all the other kaiju, right? It don't matter about Godzilla anymore. It's about all the other kaiju, and that's why I believe that maybe after that Monarch series, or if they get into a second series of Monarch, bet they're gonna squeeze Pacific Rim in there and have, you know, Godzilla and a Jaeger like fight because they need to create machines or some type of mechs, or it'll be like the mech suits in the Matrix when they're in Zion fighting, and some type of mech suit that will help them fight, or like in Avatar, some type of mech suit that will help them fight, you know, kaiju better. Like it won't be Pacific Rim, but we're gonna know exactly what they're thinking of. But in Monarch, you know, you have like Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell, right, father and son, playing each other in the past and future, and how people wanted, you know, how Monarch was growing or whatever, and how people wanted to just study these creatures, but then it's like these are dangerous creatures, they could fucking destroy the world. And it's like, look, that's where we're at, and that's why this is where we're at in King of the Monsters, because no one's killing these creatures, they all just want to study them. And then when the creatures come to destroy a city, we're all like, oh shit. You know, again, in Godzilla Minus One and Shin Godzilla, it's actually Godzilla coming here, messing up everything, and the world being like, we don't know what to do. Or actually Japan being like, we don't know what to do, because of course the Americans know exactly what to do. We have the team that we could pull together for this exact situation or mission. We've had this biotech waiting to be used. I mean, we have all this shit apparently, but other countries, they're just like screwed. Or they actually have to use their brains and like come up with some type of like feasible, realistic approach to defeating this thing that might not work. You know, like it was just so much better. So I am very skeptical of Godzilla versus Kong the New Empire, because Monarch it's all right, but it's not good, in a sense that the story is very bland, right? If it wasn't for the freaking Asian chick, this story wouldn't even happen. If it wasn't for her wanting to find out about her father in Monarch, no one would, the movie would never have happened, because obviously the half-brother that she runs into didn't know and didn't care in the first place. So if it wasn't for her, none of this story would have came together. So it's like, I guess she's the key to everything. She's definitely Ray in it. But anyway, I digress. Hopefully, you know, it gets better. Hopefully when they finally have Godzilla come in and start fighting these other kaiju and shit, hopefully it gets good. But again, I'm not really holding my breath, because it's a TV show. I don't expect them to do that much. But if it's supposed to lead into the Godzilla versus Kong, that'd be pretty interesting, because it's like, where the fuck is Kong at? Like, why isn't Kong in this series? But again, the continuity and the way they're doing all this is ridiculous. Like, this whole time that this Monarch show is going on, there's a fucking hollow earth, right? So again, it's wild that they just keep adding all this shit in. But anyway, we're just gonna have to wait and see. I really suggest, though, in the meantime, go check out Godzilla Minus One. We saw it in 40X, so if you can, watch it in 40X before it comes out of the theaters, because it is so awesome. It's just fantastic film. And yeah, we'll have to see how Godzilla vs. Kong comes out when it does. You know, that little monkey, I mean, it's just more monkeys. It's just literally more monkeys, right? Godzilla should be able to just smite those guys, considering Minus One. You know, if you watch Godzilla Minus One and then you watch the trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong, you're like, what the fuck? But excuse me. I do like Godzilla, so it's just kind of frustrating. But I guess it's just now that, again, I'm realizing that there is a Japanese Godzilla and there's an American Godzilla. I will always be on Godzilla's side, but I think I definitely favor the Japanese over the Americans. So we'll see how it goes. But this has been Ghost in the Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys all on the flip side. And oh, shit!
Magnificent!